Miracles are bound to happen.
Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to this week's astrology weather forecast. We've got a beautiful planetary alignment happening for the last week of the old year, and between you and I'm going to be very happy to say goodbye to 2018. But I do hope your Christmas was wonderful. I hope you got to spend it with your friends and your family in happy, joyful times without too much stress, because it is a very special time of year for doing all that sort of thing if you get the opportunity. But we are coming up to the final week of the year and looking ahead to January. There's some really lovely things unfolding. So let's get straight into it. Well, on the 26th of December till the 1st of January actually, Mars, the planet Mars, here he is over here, is going to be at Gandanta degrees. Now Gandanta degrees, generally speaking, are the last 3 degrees of a water sign and the first 3 degrees of a fire sign, and this is a Vedic astrology assessment tool. And so whenever we have a natal planet in one of these positions, it indicates a lot of stuff regarding karma, regarding past lives, regarding things that we need to deal with and unravel, sort of like a karmic knot. Perhaps we've carried many woundings over a number of lifetimes in a certain area of life, and we are asked and called upon by the universe to sort of unravel that knot in our soul and our psyche this lifetime. I really enjoy doing karmic readings, so if you are interested in exploring the karma, or the, if you want to call it, baggage that you're carrying from past lives, then I love to do readings like that. But yes, that's when you've got it in the natal chart, but a transiting planet is one such as Mars at the moment, which is moving through the last 3 degrees of Pisces from December 26th, and it will be doing so until January the 1st. And then we're going to talk about this in a little minute. After he's finished transiting the last 3 degrees of Pisces and moved into Aries, he's going to obviously be in Aries for some time, and that will change the dynamic of Mars energy for us, which we're all quite looking forward to. And it's very beautifully timed, actually, moving in on the 1st of January, the first day of 2019. So that's something we can all look forward to. But I will talk about Mars moving into Aries a little later for all signs. But as it's the same kind of situation with a transiting planet as it is with a natal planet. We collectively can feel the influence of Mars at Gandanta degrees. Now, when we've got a planet at the final degrees of any sign, we can feel a sense of boredom or frustration with the things that that planet represents. So with Mars, we might be feeling that our sex life is a bit meh, yeah, whatever, it's just not happening for me, I'm not excited by it, don't have one, whatever. The energy generally in life can be lacking. You might have had all the best intentions. You know what, this final week of the year, I'm going to give it a one last bit of oomph, and I'm going to, you know, jog every day, and to start in and lead into the new year. But you might find your energy is just gone and you don't have the energy to go jogging or go to the gym or do stuff that you might otherwise in your mind want to do, but physically you might be just, whatever, I can't be bothered. So energy can be lacking. There can be a lack of motivation in general. Now, Mars is a planet of initiation, enthusiasm, it's a bit of a go-getter, a bit entrepreneurial. So all these types of energies it usually brings to us, but when it's at the last 3 degrees of any sign, not just the Gandanta degrees, we can have general lack of motivation to do anything. So fortunately, it's the holiday season here in Australia. It's summer. If you just want to go and lay on the beach and read a book, well, it's a really good time to do that. In fact, the energies would be supporting that for you right now. But you also might have a lack of creativity. Mars is a very creative planet, actually, and your creative juices might be lacking somewhat. So, you know, you really might only be interested in lazing around reading a book or watching a movie or something like that at this time, because creatively you won't be inspired to go and sew that new dress or dig that new patch of the garden or do a piece of art or write a story or, you know, perhaps produce a piece of work for a blog, something like that. You'll be lacking the ordinary motivation and enthusiasm for those things. So that's the first stage. That's actually part of Western astrology. We realize that the final 3 degrees of a particular sign, any sign, gives this energy of boredom and frustration with regard to the planet. But when we're in Gandanta, it's a kind of a different thing. And again, back to what I was talking about, the Gandanta degrees, in this case, it's 26 degrees of Pisces, moving through to 3 degrees and 20 minutes of Aries. Now, Mars will actually be transiting the Gandanta degrees to the 3 degrees and 20 minutes of Aries until the 7th of January, and then he'll be out of there. But because it's Mars's home territory, it's his sign, the energies are aligned, they're empowered together, you may not feel it as much as you might if it was like a foreign planet, a planet that did not rule Aries. Say if the sun was here, or if we had Venus here, or another planet in Aries that didn't rule Aries, so you might feel it more. So what you're going to feel is the Gandanta degrees of Mars, mostly at the final 3 degrees of Pisces. And this is going to, as I said, be occurring from the 26th, Boxing Day, until 26th, just get my words out, 26th of December until the 1st of January. Now, this is actually, when a planet transits the Gandanta degrees, it indicates that there's some sort of important transition of the soul occurring, an ending of, we're going for a walk, an ending of one cycle of soul growth, so that we can begin another. So what a beautiful fitting end to 2018, when we've had so much upheaval, we've had all those retrogrades, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and finally, in the last week of the old year, Mars is saying, okay, let's end this cycle of soul growth. Let's wind it up. Let's address what needs addressing. Let's go deep. Let's look at what we've learned, where we've come from, what we've achieved this year, and then let's leave it all behind and move fresh into the new year, fresh into a new sign. So it's quite lovely the way it's all playing out, really. But as I said, this Gandanta degree transit indicates that we are ending a cycle of soul growth, collectively and individually, wherever Mars may happen to fall in your chart and what it represents in your chart individually. So you might have to face some material world issues in this last week of the old year regarding Mars energies. So Mars is the ruler of your sexuality, so maybe you've got to address some issues regarding your sexuality and what's occurred for you in the sexual realm this past year, this cycle that you've been through. What is your soul up-leveled from sexually this year? Maybe you're like me, Mars happens to be my Atmakaraka, which is the planet representing my soul's journey this lifetime. So when it's at the Gandanta degrees, it's telling me, okay, let's readdress this cycle of soul growth that you've been on, this incarnation, Kesenya. Let's look at, well, what have I learned? What has my soul done this past, well, in this case, this past month or so that Mars has been in Pisces? What have you learned? What have you up-leveled from? What has your soul embraced? In fact, you could look at the whole year at Mars. What's Mars done for you this year? Because it's been such an impactful year for Mars. He did his little retrograde song and dance up in Aquarius and Capricorn for a while, and that was for a really big chunk of this year. So we were addressing our sexuality. I was probably addressing many of my soul journey lessons, like Atmakaraka is about our soul journey. So I was addressing a lot of those things. You might have been addressing your own tendency towards entrepreneurship or initiation, your own courage, your own sense of fighting for justice in your life. So a number of ways that Mars can play out pertaining to the nature of the planet. He's a fighter, he's a warrior, he's courageous, he's all about initiation, starting things up, being creative. He's also about enemies and, having to deal with people who've got it in for you, that sort of thing. So maybe you've had issues like that arise throughout the last month to, a whole year since he retrograded. So the energy is about to change with Mars, so that's actually wonderful. But like I said, we might have to face the material world. And when I say material, I'm not talking about, you know, you have to deal with your car, or you have to deal with the knives in your house because Mars rules knives. I'm talking about issues in our third dimensional reality, in the material reality that we live in, the earthly life we are incarnated in. That's what I mean by material issues. So you might have issues regarding your sex life. You might have issues regarding your enthusiasm for work. You might have issues regarding your courage that you need to embrace to be able to face a certain difficult situation that you're dealing with. So it's all of these things that pertain to how we're functioning in our material reality. So just check my notes if that's okay. So basically the material ties with whatever Mars represents in your chart are going to be, you know, you're going to address them and possibly shatter for some people, depending on what their chart looks like and what's going on in their chart. The material ties in your life might well be shattered concerning Mars. So let's give an example. Well, let's just say natally that you had Mars. Let's pop in somewhere exciting. You had Aries rising, and you popped, and your natal Mars is down here in Leo. So for a start, he's going to be in good dignity. That would be great. And it's your 5th house. Leo for rising Aries is the 5th house. So you might actually lose some material world ties with your ability to go out and have fun. This might happen for you where you just need to realize, I don't actually enjoy going out to the pub anymore. I don't find that a fun activity. I would rather go to a discussion group at the library. And you're addressing that something in you's changed. Your soul journey has changed. You know what you do for pleasure, what you do for fun, what you do for hobbies may have changed and up-leveled to something completely different. So this is what we're addressing at this time. That's one type of example. It might have something in 5th house. It might have something to do with love and romance. You've been dating a guy for a couple of years. Mars, which is sitting ruler of your ascendant in this instance that I'm giving you here. Mars rules Aries, and it's sitting in the 5th house of love and romance. And so you're learning lessons in life regarding love and romance. And you might realize when Mars transits a Gandanta degree, you know what, this guy I've been dating, this woman I've been dating, I feel like I've grown beyond her or him. I feel like I understand things so much differently. Like, we've been dating for years and I'm just not in that space anymore. So you might actually be inspired, if you want to use that word, to end it with a partner when Mars transits the Gandanta degrees, if he is in your 5th house natally. So you really need to, for what I'm trying to describe here, you would need to know your chart quite well and what Mars represents, what Mars rules, and where Mars sits. But if you don't know those things, then you're more than welcome. And if you're concerned, I'm not saying everybody needs to run out and get a reading, but if you are concerned about anything like that, then you could get a reading from an astrologist such as myself. You stay there, and then you could understand more about what Mars is representing in your chart and what Mars wants to achieve in your chart and what Mars will be up leveling from as he transits the Gandanta degrees. So there's a realization of truth when Mars or any planet transits the Gandanta degrees. So regarding Mars, you'll have a realization of truth regarding what you want. I'm just checking my notes. What you want in your sex life, what you want in your business life, what you want regarding your physical health and vitality, your physical energy, what you want to initiate and achieve creatively in life. So there's going to be this is a period, this last week of the year, where the energy will be relaxed, lays around, but you might actually be pondering a lot. You might actually be thinking a lot about, well, what do I want? Where am I headed? What am I achieving with my Mars issues? You might be thinking exactly in those terms, but that's where your mind might go. And you're going to have a realization of truth regarding whatever Mars represents for you in your chart. So an exciting way to, well, not exciting, but a pertinent way to end the old year by reflection and by and going deep and addressing these Mars issues that has been so pertinent for us all over the whole year. But then the energy is going to shift and we're going to move into something more exciting. So on December the 29th, Venus, here she is over here in Scorpio, she will be sextiling Pluto. Now, as you can see, there's a heck of a lot of action happening up there in Capricorn. And in the first week of the new year, we're going to get a lot of activity playing out in this realm of life. It's been Scorpio, Scorpio, Scorpio for ages. And finally, the planets are moving on and doing their song and dance in other realms. And this time, in the beginning of the new year, it's going to be a song and dance in the sign of Capricorn, which we'll talk about in next week's video. But for now, Venus in Scorpio is sending a gorgeous sextile to Pluto, who's moving very, very slowly and with a great deal of ploddingness in Capricorn. So they are connecting to the exact degree, 20 degrees actually, on the 29th of December, so right at the end of the old year. Now this is actually quite a lovely energy. A sextile is a beautiful harmonious aspect of the planets kind of having an interaction with one another. So it's going to perhaps trigger some romantic feelings that might be intensified for you. If you've got a partner, you might be feeling, you know, a bit more loving, which is going to be kind of great because you've probably been a bit lackluster for a few days with Mars. So you're going to have some intensified romantic and loving feelings. It mightn't be the sexual energy of Mars, but it might be more romantic, more, you know, I want to have a candlelight dinner to celebrate the end of the year, and you know, you get to be a bit more romantically inclined, like with a partner if you've got one, or you might be, your longing for a partner might actually increase. Venus, sorry, is romance and love, and so if you don't have somebody in your life in that capacity, you'll be longing for it all the more because of this sextile, especially around New Year. You know what it's like when you're single and everybody's off to parties and whatever, and you know, kissing at midnight and that sort of thing, and you kind of stand in the corner. But it's actually going to be a beautiful energy for creating romance for yourself even. So you know, if you don't have a partner, you might be able to harness this energy to utilize some sort of romantic experience for yourself. Maybe you go and book yourself a ride in a hot air balloon, and you chicken and champagne breakfast in a hot air balloon. Who cares if you've got a partner or not? You know, it's fun. Maybe you do something like take a really dear girlfriend out for dinner. Someone who's had a really rough year and needs a bit of romance and pleasure and joy in her life. So you take a very dear friend out for a special dinner. You can create romance by making a bubble bath for yourself at home, or perhaps going to see a romantic movie. But you know, all the world's your oyster with creativity there. You're going to be more interested in romance and sharing love and companionship. So those kind of things are really going to be opportunities that you can embrace on this day. Now, be aware that Pluto is the planet of obsessions. So your obsessions can actually increase on this day or be intensified on this day for anything concerning Venusian things. And what does Venus rule that you might obsess about? Money. So you might, you know, you get the credit card bill after Christmas and you're like, oh my God, I'm right everybody, we're going to cut costs, we're going to, you know, but there's going to be this obsessiveness about, right, how are we dealing with money, how are we dealing with our possessions, what is happening in my love life, my romantic life. So Venus is possessions, it's money, it's love and romance, it's also self-worth. So you might be a little bit obsessed or obsessive about self-development. You know, you might go to the after Christmas sales and head on down to your local bookshop and grab a heap of books on self-development, self-worth, self-affirmation, all that sort of stuff. So you can be a little bit obsessive on this day about those things that might crop up for you. Usually though, it's with a sextile, the energy is one of you know, good communication between planets. So it's not a hard aspect where there are, you know, you're pushing your head against a brick wall kind of feeling. It's good, but a sextile's energy is very different to a trine. A trine is when everything falls into your lap. You know, you're just lucky, things go well, you know, you get opportunities that come your way that you know, just like, oh, wow, miracle, you know, that sort of thing. But with a sextile, opportunities come, but you've got to look for them. You know, you have to see them there, and when you see them there, you've got to grab them and run with them and put some energy into what you're doing. Make the most of the opportunity. So there's a difference between a sextile and a trine. One's super duper easy, the other gives you opportunities you need to embrace. So you might find, you know, the Venusian things that are cropping up in your life, issues regarding, you know, not issues, but opportunities, let's say, regarding making money, or regarding having something nice or pleasurable experiences, or having a romance enter into your life. You need to recognize them and run with them when they crop up in your life. You know, if you're a bit like me, Pisces, I sort of miss things sometimes, and it's not till they're gone and down the road it's like, oh, there was an opportunity and it's gone, oh well. So you've got to keep on the lookout for these kind of Venusian opportunities because of the sextile with Pluto. Now, Venus is the lesser benefic in astrology. Jupiter, beautiful Jupiter up here, he's considered to be the benefic planet, and when he is making a kindly aspect with Pluto, then in your natal chart, then you can expect that you know, you might do very, very well financially in life. That is the aspect that we look for when we're looking for at the charts of the super rich and powerful. Pluto is power, and Pluto, before he became the god of the underworld, he actually used to be the god of great wealth. And then he became the god of the underworld as well. So he still carries that power of being the god of great wealth. And we are talking Tats Lotto wins with this guy, you know, and you know, you left $1 million by an uncle you never knew you had. Those kind of, wow, transformational type monetary circumstances in your life. So when you've got a sextile with Jupiter, this is not occurring, I might just point out, but when there's a sextile with Jupiter, there is an opportunity for great wealth to be made in your life if it's in the natal chart. A trine with Jupiter just means, wow, you can just get lucky with big wealth. But in this case, we've got Venus making the sextile to Pluto, and Venus is the lesser benefic. So not as, you know, Jupiter is... Pluto is the god of great wealth. Jupiter is the planet of luck and good fortune in the big way. Venus is the planet of money. So, you know, it's not going to be as big and impactful and expansive as Jupiter sextile Pluto, but it is still going to be important because it's the lesser benefic connecting that represents money, connecting with the god of great wealth. So depending on what's going on in your own natal chart and how well it's supported by what I'm talking about, you might actually get some opportunity for, you know, good financial situation occur for you between Christmas and New Year, especially around December the 29th, the date that these two connect exact. If Venus happens to be your ruling planet, just say you had Taurus rising, Venus would be your... Oops, now we're on a walk. Venus would be your ruling planet. So it makes it very, very powerful in your chart. And you can then, you know, maybe expect a little more, depending on what else is happening in your chart, but you can maybe expect a little more in the realm of what will occur for you from these two planets connecting in the sky. You might get a beautiful Christmas bonus from your boss that you weren't even thinking would ever happen. You know, some sort of wonderful opportunity regarding money. Maybe you get offered a tender acceptance that you thought, oh, that's a long shot, you know, and you get this opportunity to make big money, more money than you thought. Or maybe you get an opportunity for love to enter your life. You had your eye on the guy at the coffee shop for you know, months, and then, you know, on the 29th of December, he strikes up a conversation with you, and you're chatting, and you get getting along great, and you think, hang on, I think he might, and you know, the opportunity is there. So you say, well, let's go out for a drink sometime, and voila, you've taken the opportunity, you've grabbed the opportunity that the universe has presented you with, and run with it, and something can happen from that. So it's a pretty exciting kind of a day, kind of an energy. Also, if Venus happens to be one of your Vedic indicators for wealth, then you would also be quite blessed on this day as well. But there are a number of situations where Venus is a bit more powerful than others, and a good astrologer can look and find those sorts of things for you in the chart. But generally speaking, for everyone, we may notice an increase in our happy feelings on this day, or just things going well for us, things going easy for us, feeling like we've got a bit more power in our life, a bit more control in our life, like we can, you know, we're going to manage our money better in the year ahead, or where our love life is more promising, just feeling more optimistic and upbeat about those things, or more powerful, more in control. So it's actually very, very, yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful energy to have in the final week of the year. Okay, so I'm just checking my notes. Sorry about this. All right, that's right. Yes. This, like I said, this sextile creates an opportunity. So we have the chance to embrace something and make the most of it that might be presented. Keep an eye out for opportunities that come your way. But be aware that Pluto is the planet of transformation. So these opportunities might come to you. You might get the chance to do something, you know, or, you know, talk to that guy at the coffee shop or whatever, or get a new job opportunity that's going to create money for you, but it will likely result in some sort of transformation if Pluto's involved, because Pluto is the god of transformation, or he rules transformation and change. He's connected to death and rebirth type experiences, metaphorically, as well as otherwise, but you know, in this case we're talking metaphorically. So you can expect, if you do start chatting to this guy at the coffee shop that you've been keen on for ages, and secretly he's keen on you, and something transpires from that, it could be a very transformative relationship that you then embark on. If you get if you win the tender for the job that you thought was a long shot, it could be very transformative for you down the track as well. It might lead to many other large-scale projects that you hadn't expected might even, you know, come to you. So by having put in for that tender in the first place and taken the opportunity, it can result in something that transforms your life. So I mean, it can play out in a million different ways in the chart, but whatever occurs from the opportunity that you grab on this day, the 29th of December, it will result in some sort of wonderful transformation for you in your life. So a beautiful energy to finish up the old year with. And finally, the energy of the first day of January is going to be fantastic, because this little red planet here moving into its own sign. That was hardly worth moving it for, was it? But it's moving into its own sign, the sign of Aries. So this is exciting. This is a shift in our momentum and our energy and our enthusiasm and our approach to, you know, the vigor we've got to put into our life. So it's very, very exciting. And it's going to, little old Mars is going to be there until the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, when it'll then move out and into the sign of Taurus with, now this, and it's going to be interesting times when these two connect in the sky. This is Uranus, and both of them are very kind of energies, full on. Mars is just energy, 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 and Uranus is very electric. So they're quick energies. It's going to be interesting times when that happens at the end of February. But for now, we're looking at Mars in its own sign of Aries. Now, Mars is strong in Aries with an almost endless supply of energy, you know. It's just, you know, we've got the the gung-ho, we're into it, we're off and away, there's no stopping us, and this will be unraveling for all of us wherever Aries falls in our chart, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, our generally speaking, the sign of Aries and the nature of Mars has to do with our sex drive, our initiative, our capacity for entrepreneurship, creative ideas and our creative impulses and thoughts. Very, very creative sign, Aries. It has to do with our courage and our enthusiasm, and our instinct to survive is seen by the sign of Aries as well. And all these things are going to get a boost. We're going to have our instincts for survival are going to be more attuned. And now, obviously, in the Western world, you know, we're not living on the edge all the time, quite fortunately that way. But you know, you're going to be more attuned to what you need to do to make ends meet, to help give yourself a push in work and in the way you make money, and the networks that you have, because this is all connected to how we survive, how we network with people, how much energy we put into things, how much enthusiasm we have, how much drive we have, how much we're willing to fight for what we want, all connected to our ability to survive and thrive. So you're going to feel spontaneous. Mars energy is very spontaneous and bright and energetic, and it's the energy of pure action and pure invigoration. So we'll get to it in a minute, where that's going to be for you, where you're going to be invigorated for the whole of January and half of February. We'll look at that in a minute. But it's also the energy of fresh ideas. So wherever Mars is falling in your chart, in Aries, you're going to have fresh ideas. You're going to be open to change. You'll also not tolerate, I'm just setting up my notes to read, sorry. You'll also not tolerate dilly-dallying, or people who talk slowly, or a bit, bit like the hare and the tortoise. You'll be the hare, and in whatever realm of life Aries is for you, and if someone else has not got Aries in that realm of life, or they'll be perhaps, you'll perceive them as being the tortoise, plodding along and slow. I get a lot of people saying, oh, Kesenya, you talk so slow, get to the point. And that's just the nature of Mercury and Saturn together. Saturn slows things down, and Mercury is the mind and our speaking and our communication. So I might find with my next week's video, people might not tolerate my slow thought processes and my slow communication style. So I'll watch out for the comments then when that happens. But also, and along those lines, we need to watch ourselves for being perhaps a little bit rude, maybe even a little bit impatient with this energy. We might get really frustrated by something we see on YouTube, and then we'll make a comment, and then a day or so later we're like, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't said that, that was really off, or that was rude, and I wasn't very sensitive there. So just watch for being a bit too impulsive, a little bit too rude in your interactions with others, because that's just the nature of Aries. It just says what it thinks, and with Mars there, we blurt things out, or we do things, or we take action without even stopping to think about things. Generally speaking, Mars in Aries, it's not going to be too much of an issue. If it was a hard aspect, like a square or an opposition, we would have to stop and be cautious because it could cause damage. But generally, Mars in Aries, it's at home in Aries, so we'll have quick thought processes and be able to assess situations quite fast, and usually come up with an appropriate conclusion. But just watch for being a little bit rude, watch for being a little bit impatient. So let's take a peek at all signs and where this energy is going to be falling for us all. So if you're Aries rising, well, obviously Mars is going to be in your in your first house. And so regarding how you journey through life, your ability to survive, you are going to have fresh ideas, you're going to have fresh energy, you're going to have fresh enthusiasm and lots of spontaneity. These are the words that we're using for this process of Mars. fresh ideas, energy, enthusiasm, spontaneity. And of course, the first house is very connected to the body and the health of the body and the well-being of the body. So you might be very much more inclined in the first month of the year to start that new fitness regime, or to, you know, get out and go surfing, or, you know, every day you wake up and your energy, your bodily energy is just increased. And you're like, right, well, let's go for a, you know, 100K bike ride, or, you know, you're really going to be enthusiastic about using your body and doing something energetic with your body. I wouldn't recommend getting any type of surgery done, particularly cosmetic surgery, during this period, because Mars in the first house can leave cuts and scars around your face. And it's not, and we've also got eclipses coming up in January, which are not good energy too, if you're looking at having any type of plastic surgery, that sort of thing. Operations in general could leave you with scarring. So, you know, if you're having, I don't know, a cesarean or something like that, and you're willing to sort of wear high-waisted bikinis for the rest of your life, then that's cool, you know, it's up to you. And obviously you don't get a lot of choice about when a baby's coming. So, but just be aware, with surgeries there can be some scarring when Mars is in Aries and your Aries rising as your first house. So, but yeah, your body is going to be the focus for you at this time, because the ruler of your first house will be in your first house. So you can manifest a greater sex drive. You might manifest more enthusiasm regarding, you know, how you physically interact with the world. You know, you might be a bit more concerned about looking sexy, looking appealing, and you might go out of your way to sort of focus on that realm of life where otherwise you might not think about it too much. So you're going to be very invigorated regarding the health of your body, the well-being and physical energy of your body, and also the way you appear might be more sexually appealing, so to speak. You might go and buy a few new, you know, sexy two-piece swimming togs or something if you're in Australia and it's summer and you want to go to the beach. I mean, that's something you might be right into with this transit. But now let's have a look at Taurus. Lovely Taurus. Sorry, I'm a little bit awkward here. There we go. Taurus. Okay, so this is putting the energy of, I'll have to hold that. She's wanting to go, got a mind of her own, this board. You're going to have fresh ideas, enthusiasm, energy, and spontaneity regarding spiritual matters, because Aries, for Taurus rising people, Aries is your spiritual house. So you're going to be quite interested in spiritual things and have a lot of energy to put towards spirituality. So you might read more spiritual books at this time, or you might connect with a yoga group, like a meditative yoga group, not the one for, you know, weight loss or, you know, fat burning or whatever, but more about the spiritual side of yoga. So the energy of Mars is very like physical, bodily energy. So you're going to have this connection with the divine and connection with your physical body as well at this time. So yeah, you might go on a yoga retreat or something like that. You might also be more enthused and passionate and have creative ideas regarding some sort of art or some sort of music, maybe some sort of, maybe even healing work, to be honest. So, you know, you might have had issues over the past year with your health or well-being, and you might go and see an energy healer in January that really, really helps, that sort of sets you straight, that gives you a bit of empowerment regarding your body, because healing is often seen from the 12th house. Now, it's also like the Mars can sometimes be connected with surgeons because of the use of tools and implements like knives and so forth. But again, I wouldn't be recommending any type of healing work surgically at this time while Mars is in Aries, just the same, and the eclipses in January would put the kibosh on that if it was me. But generally speaking, Mars in the 12th house is going to give you more energy and ideas regarding your spirituality. You're going to know how to tap in more to the divine realms. You'll get the enthusiasm to hunt it out, to seek it out. You'll be a bit more, even more courageous about your spirituality. So maybe your family sees a certain type of spirituality as being quite taboo, and your belief system that doesn't align with theirs, and you get a bit more courageous about, well, let me tell you what I actually think, this is the way I see the world. You might be a bit more courageous about that. You might also get the opportunity in January to do a bit of overseas travel, and it would be for the purposes of spiritual growth perhaps, or just escaping and retreating. So Mars is not a planet of travel necessarily, but you're going to be more enthused about doing that sort of thing, and you might get a really great idea for an escape type holiday retreat that you can undertake, and you'll be energized about doing that. Maybe it might, you might go trekking up a mountain in Nepal or something like that, or you could go bushwalking in Australia. Like, you could do anything that was energetic as a form of escape at this time, and having a retreat, having a holiday that was quite energetic, a surfing safari, or anything that kayaking, anything that requires some energy, but is also connected to the idea of escaping and retreating from the everyday, normal, ordinary life. It's very, very 12th house. So Gemini rising. Oh, my chair is so squeaky. Need a new one. Gemini rising people puts Aries and Mars in Aries up in the 11th house. So you're going to have these fresh ideas, some spontaneity, some vigor and enthusiasm and vitality regarding the results of what you do for a living. So, or not for a living, but for a career, your worldly aspirations. So you're going to be really, you might get the idea of, sorry, just gathering my thoughts. You might decide, I'm going to enter this particular competition. So you're a great artist and you've been producing art for many, many years, and there's this wonderful art competition, and you think, I've got a chance here. So you enter into some sort of art competition because it will give you the rewards and the gains for some sort of worldly achievement that you aspire to. So you're going to be enthused about seeking rewards, seeking gains, and you're going to get lots of new ideas about how to do that as well. You might even get opportunities that come to you, such as someone comes and says, hey, there's this singing competition and the prize is this, and you should audition because you're really great. Here's the information. They give you a flyer or something, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, I could do that. And so you've always aspired to be a singer and you've worked hard at it. Mars might give you the energy, enthusiasm to actually take more steps forward towards receiving the rewards for that kind of worldly achievement that you aspire to. So you might get opportunities for that to happen. The 11th house is also friends, networks, large groups of people. So you're going to be more social. You're going to be inclined to want to go out and connect with groups of people, maybe go to, it can be pleasurable things like going to a music festival, but it's likely to be something a bit more politically motivated, something that's, about justice, about seeking, fairness, about wanting to have, wanting to fight for a cause. Aries is this, the soldier, the warrior kind of energy, and so is Mars. And so you're going to want to connect with people about some sort of social cause, social justice issue. So you might get the chance to go to a protest rally, or you might get the chance to even write a letter to your local politicians and gather signatures. Might be something you want to do. Start a crowdfunding campaign. All these sorts of things can actually play out for you at the over January. You might be very enthused and passionate about that. Mars is passion. So, and it might happen quite spontaneously for you as well, because Mars is this spontaneous type of energy. Yes, the 11th house, Aries. So this is where your energy is going to be directed and guided to. You're going to want to help humanity in some way and be enthused about helping humanity in a really passionate, vigorous, energetic and courageous way. So these are some of the things that might play out if you're Gemini rising. Now, if you happen to be, oh golly, if you happen to be Cancer rising, you're going to have a fabulous January when the eclipses occur if you're Cancer rising, but we'll talk about that next week. It's going to be just an interesting year all round for Cancer and Capricorn people. 2019 will be a big shake-up for you guys, but because that's where the eclipses are falling. It all depends on your natal chart, so I'm not going to say too much there. But for you Cancer rising people, Mars is falling in Aries. Of course it's in Aries, but it's the 10th house. So 10th house is where your energy and enthusiasm and fresh ideas are going to be. Now you might be on holidays, you know, you might be having a break, you know, it's the Christmas season or whatever, but for the month of January ahead, your energy and enthusiasm will be directed towards your worldly achievements, what you want to achieve in the world, the legacy you want to leave, what you want to be noted for and remembered for. So that can be your career, you know, maybe you want to be the CEO and you're aspiring to that. You'll get fresh ideas and invigoration and enthusiasm towards becoming the CEO and how you can achieve that and climb the career ladder. But it's also things that we do that don't necessarily have to be connected to career. I often use this illustration in my readings with people. The difference between the 6th house and the 10th house is quite an interesting one. The 6th house is what you do for a living to pay the bills. So, you know, you might be working as a barista in a coffee shop to pay the bills each day. And you know, you're going down and you're making the coffees and you're serving them to people and chatting and you're really good at your job and you like what you do and it pays the bills. But at night time, you get home, you grab your guitar, you go down to some pub or a restaurant and you play your music that you've written. And that is what you aspire to do. That is the worldly achievement you're aspiring to. Not serving coffees, that's fine, it's great, you enjoy it, you pay the bills with it. But what you aspire to is our 10th house. And it's the worldly achievements of what we want to be recognized for, what we want to be known for. So your music that you're playing in the evening, okay, it might not be bringing in the big bucks, maybe it will one day, but it's what you are doing towards having some sort of worldly achievement and recognition, what you want to be known for and remembered for, the legacy you want to leave. So if you're Cancer rising, that is where your energy is going to be. You're going to be enthusiastic about that. You're going to be driven about that. You might get out of the blue spontaneous opportunities even that come your way. You're going to be having, like I said, fresh ideas for how to achieve more. If you want to be that famous singer or whatever, you might get fresh ideas that come to you, new song ideas, and you might write some fabulous new songs, or you might get some insights into, oh, you know, if I want to end up being a radio host, if I start in this realm and work here and like do the comedy circuit or something, then I might, you know, actually down the track move into sort of the more public speaking and and end up being a radio host, which is my real aspiration. So you're going to get the ideas, the ingenuity, a bit of entrepreneurship about how you can actually achieve what you want to achieve in life from a worldly achievement perspective. Now, the 10th house is actually also connected to authority figures. So with Mars here, it's positive to have Mars in Aries, but if it's, you know, you need to have a look at your own chart and see if there's any aspects, you know, in a negative way to any other planets or that sort of thing. But then you can have encounters with authority figures when Mars is in Aries that can be a little bit more fraught, you know. Like I said, you're not going to have much patience for dilly-dallying or people who beat around the bush. And so if that happens to be an authority figure, just watch yourself. You know, you might not be very tolerant or patient towards an authority figure who's trying to explain in great specific detail to you what you've done wrong with this report. And you're just like, oh, just hurry up because I really want to go and get on with my next job or whatever. So be careful around that area in your interactions with authority figures, because you could be a little bit more volatile. You could be a little bit more impatient. So just be cautious. Okay, so if you are Leo rising will place Aries. Whoa, let's go right there. We'll place Aries, okay, in the 9th house. So the 9th house is connected to our inspirational figures, where the 10th house is authority figures, people who are lorded over us, so to speak. The ninth house is our benefactors, people who've got our back, people who inspire us, people who, you know, we might naturally connect with them in a I know you kind of a way. You know, maybe we follow someone on YouTube, they are inspiration to us. Or it can be someone in your immediate circle who you really look up to and respect and admire. So this Mars in Aries will bring you some sort of energy around connection with inspirational figures. You'll be enthused about some type of guru person. You'll be like, oh, let me tell you about this person and then what the book they've written, and this is the film they're producing, and check it out, they're so inspiring. And you'll want to share that with people. You'll be enthused about it. You'll be bubbly about it. You'll be excited about it. Excuse me. Also, Aries as the ninth house is about our higher learning, and you might be get some sort of invigoration or in spontaneous ideas about, you know what, I want to do my master's degree this year. Hope it's not too late to apply. Right, I'm going to go out and apply and do my master's degree. You just get a source of inspiration for an area that you want to study. Maybe you've never studied molecular biology before, and you get inspired and think, you know what, I want to do that. So you get inspiration. Mars is a planet of inspiration, and of course, like I said, fresh ideas, something that you've maybe never thought of before regarding higher learning. It might not be that you want to go and study. It could just be, you know what, I've got all these books in my house from when I did my university degree. I haven't looked at them in 15 years. I'm donating them to the local university. You might get an inspirational idea for how to create a dynamic with your local university or Institute of Higher Learning in some way. You go and donate all your books, and they're like, oh wow, thank you, that's great, and let's we'll put your name on the donation list, and you'll be credited in our newsletter and whatever. So there's some sort of fresh idea, inspiration and energy coming from Mars in Aries as the ninth house. And it's also connected to our belief systems, and from that end, expansion through travel. Now, when we talk about travel from the ninth house, it's about anything that we do to expand our soul and our soul's journey. So, for example, it's even like if you wanted to go to the local Ethiopian restaurant for dinner to just see what is their cuisine like, and I want to check this out, I want to know more about their culture. Or you might want to attend the Chinese New Year celebrations with Mars in Aries. You'll be inclined to want to experience other cultures, and so you should with Mars in Aries. Get in there, be a part of it, be a part of that energy. Bring your enthusiasm, Mars in Aries, to other cultural experiences, and it will expand your soul, it will expand your worldview and the way you consider belief systems. It'll be really, really good for you to connect with other cultures in some way throughout January. So, if you can't travel overseas, there are other ways to do that. Like I said, restaurants, cultural celebrations, attending galleries and exhibitions from cultural things. Maybe some museums got Tutankhamun exhibition or something happening, and you can go and experience ancient Egypt and learn from that. So there are so many ways for you with Mars in Aries to channel that enthusiasm and that energy and the drive into cultural experiences, anything to do with learning, higher learning, reading sort of higher level books on philosophy and law and history and culture and that sort of stuff. And of course, connecting with benefactors. You're going to be enthusiastic about it and quite spontaneous as well. So lots of lovely things for you Leo people to enjoy with Mars in Aries. Virgo rising people puts Mars in Aries in the 8th house. So with Mars in the 8th house, again, we're talking about the strength of Mars in Aries. It's a strong placement for Mars to be in its own sign, and Aries is the house, for Virgo rising people, to do with the occult. So you might actually be very inspired to check out more occult kind of ideas and practices, ancient belief systems even, that are hidden, that we don't utilize these days. You might look into sort of it's more astrology. You might, spend January listening to more astrology videos, but wherever it is, you're going to have more energy and enthusiasm and drive. So you might even get some fresh ideas, some inspiration regarding anything of an occult, hidden type nature. And this is the house of sexuality. So with Mars in Aries here, expect fireworks, kaboom. It's going to be a great month for you guys in a big way. You're going to just have more vigor, more actual physical stamina in the bedroom, more inclined to want to experience, sexuality and sexual expression. But also you might be very intrigued by the taboo and experimenting, that sort of thing. You're going to have fresh ideas in the bedroom. You're going to have more spontaneity in the bedroom. So your lucky partner is going to be very fortunate for you. This is great. It's going to be really vigorous energy for you sexually throughout the month of January. And if you don't have a partner, well, you might actually come up with some interesting concepts that you can utilize on your own, perhaps. But this placement is also connected to self-transformation. So often when we've got this placement, we can become very obsessive. So just be careful. When Mars is here, you've got so much energy, so much enthusiasm, so much oomph, and it's a house of obsessions. So you might be just so over the top with something you become obsessed about. You might be just full of energy that is directed into an obsession. So just be careful with that when you've got Aries as the 8th house. And it's as I said, the house of transformations. So you might actually experience over the month of January a big transformation as well. Because 8th house is transformations, Lord of the 8th house in the 8th house is bringing those things to you. So you can, and it happens, once every 2 years. It's not a rare transit. So you can experience some kind of big transformation if you're Virgo rising with Mars there. And it'll come through the initiation of your own energy, actually. So for example, you might, just to pluck something out of thin air, you might have always thought a certain way about something, and then you get an experience where it's like an edgy experience. It was like a near-death experience that you had. Maybe you were swimming at the beach and you got caught in a rip, but somebody saved you, and it was like a very transformational experience that made you see the world in a whole different light, in a whole different way, through this edgy kind of transformative experience. So it doesn't have to mean that your life goes from being poor to rich, or you go from healthy to not healthy, or it's nothing like that. It can be just sort of a big transformational experience that leaves you with a different perspective on life, or a different understanding in life. Now, as I said, Mars is very much connected to the vigor and the energy in our body, and the vitality in our body. So it might actually be something transformational regarding your vigor and your energy and vitality. That might go through some kind of a dynamic shift over the month of January. You might find that it could be as simple as you undertake some sort of new health routine and diet, and you suddenly get more energy, more vigor, and it transforms your body. 8th house is transformations, and Mars is very connected to our physical energy. So your body might be, your vitality might be transformed through something that you initiate as well. Mars is a planet of initiation, so you might be inspired to initiate something that causes transformation in your body through this transit as well. So you might actually rejuvenate something. This is a house of rejuvenation. So your physical energy is likely, like I said, to be rejuvenated with this transit. So you're going to have more energy, but it's also going to set you up to be more invigorated in the future. It's going to rejuvenate your energy, Mars's energy. It might rejuvenate your sex life, this transit of Mars here as well. So your sex life might have been non-existent for 6 months, Mars, for Virgo rising people, transits through the 8th house, and suddenly your sex life is reinvigorated, regenerated by Mars transiting here. So that's something really lovely to look forward to. We often say, oh, the 8th house is this, it's that, and it means loss, and it means, you know, you're disconnected from the body because the 8th house doesn't actually aspect the 1st house. And so, you know, we say, oh, negative, negative, but it is the house of rejuvenation. With a planet of sexuality and a sign of sexuality, you can actually be really blessed by this transit and have your, you know, your energy, your sex life, all rejuvenated and reinvigorated. So lucky Virgo this time round, I'm thinking. I know January will be quite an exciting one for you in that realm. Lovely Libra. I say that every week, don't I? They are lovely. I love Libra people. And this is going to put Aries in the 7th house. So there is going to be this Mars energy of freshness, enthusiasm and vigor happening with your relationships, with your partnerships, and this is business partnerships too. So maybe you're in business with someone and it's been a bit, the relationship hasn't been that good for a while, or you've not been communicating well, or, you know, maybe you're just a bit lackluster with regard to, I just don't want to hang out with them or whatever. And then Mars comes and energizes things. It gives you some spontaneity. You know what? Hey, let's go down to this seminar together down in Melbourne, and we'll go together, and it'll be really fun. And so you energize again the relationship that you have with your business partner, or it could be a marriage partner. As well. And of course, Mars is sexuality, Aries is very vigorous type energy, and this is the 7th house of committed life partnerships. So your physical relationship with your partner can receive a boost at this time and can really be empowered, energized, uplifted, invigorated at this time. So this is great if you've got if you're a Libra rising person. Plus, the 7th house is connected to culture. Now, it's not the culture that's, you know, and I say this a lot, you've probably heard me say it before, it's not the culture of, hey, I'm down at the local music festival, got a beer in my hand, and we're all, yeah, you know, it's not that. It is much more going to a fashion exhibition or the art gallery or a concert that's, you know, quite refined, maybe some beautiful gourmet dinner out at a very high-end restaurant. So it's this Aries 7th house is the 7th house is the house of fine refined culture. So with Mars here, although Mars energy we would usually associate with the local music festival and, you know, got the beer in the hand and yeah, you know, it is actually, you are going to be more inclined and enthusiastic about doing something cultural, something refined. So, you know, maybe you will attend an art gallery, maybe you will go to a fashion exhibition. Mars isn't necessarily connected to fashion, but you're going to be more enthusiastic about attending some sort of cultural activity. So that's where the connection may be. So, you know, that could be anything. It doesn't have to be a fashion exhibition. It could be an exhibition of ancient tools and at the museum, or ancient warrior swords. That would be very Mars, and you might be inspired to go to the museum and see a collection of ancient Nordic whatever swords or whatever they used, swords and shields and that sort of thing. So you know, it can take many shapes and forms, but you're going to be enthusiastic about connecting with culture. You're going to have great ideas that might be connected to creating some sort of cultural experience as well. Aries is the sign is the energy of initiation. So you're going to actually be quite an initiator when you're Libra rising regarding cultural activities. Refined activities, and you're going to be interested in and invested in that sort of thing in a very vigorous entrepreneurial kind of way even. So you're going to be able to be very energized around that even further now with Mars transiting through Aries over January. So you might be, you know, if you're Libra rising, you could be somebody who organizes, you mightn't be into music so much, but you might be someone who organizes big music festivals and cultural events, you know, or you're the person who brings out big live acts to come and perform at all the like big venues, the big stadiums and that sort of thing. And so you get some fresh enthusiasm, some fresh ideas for, oh, we could connect with that person, we could bring this person out, and you know, that sort of thing. That's a large scale version, but Aries is an initiator, someone who starts things and establishes things and has ideas. So in a cultural house like the 7th house, you would have ideas around different cultural practices that you could utilize, and activities that the community could do. So you can really be energized around that sort of thing for the month of January. So moving along, we're halfway through. Now we're looking at Scorpio. Scorpio, from January the 1st, will have, oh, it's going to be a bit impatient too. Scorpio from January the 1st will see Aries in the 6th house. Now, the 6th house traditionally was connected with the idea of slavery. Now, it's really interesting to note that, but we don't live in times, touch wood, that are, you know, where we keep slaves, or we shouldn't be, you know, like, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of some ways that we are enslaved in this day and age, but in former times it was connected with slavery, it was connected with the underdog, people who were not in positions of power. And again, this is another house that is not aspecting the ascendant, so it's therefore considered to be quite a difficult house because of that. But in this day and age, in the Western world, we might be enslaved to our bosses or enslaved to paying off the mortgage or whatever, but generally speaking, it's not quite as bad as, you know, when we were serfs and what have you. But the nature of the 6th house is when it's the work that we do, it's what we do to pay the bills, like I described earlier for, I think it was Cancer rising, somebody who was working in a coffee shop to pay the bills while aspiring to be a musician. So so for Scorpio people, Mars in the 6th house is going to be energized and enthusiastic about doing your barista work, being the coffee shop attendant. You will have fresh ideas that you can bring to your workplace. You'll be enthused about things that you can do in your workplace. Or you might even find, like, this is also in ancient times considered to be the house of disease. Now, what is really interesting here for you Scorpio rising people is that in traditional astrology, Mars rules your body, because Mars is your traditional ruler of the 1st house of the body. And so when Mars is sitting in the 6th house, it might trigger some kind of susceptibility to not diseases per se, but maybe a cold, maybe the flu. So just be careful, because the Lord of your 1st house is sitting in the house of wellness or lack of. So, you know, it can go either way. You could be inclined in this case to to do some sort of fabulous new health routine, or start drinking orange juice every day to keep the colds away or something, and then a cold doesn't come because you establish a new routine. Routines are seen by the 6th house as well. So you establish a new routine that keeps your vigor and your energy alive. But yes, in ancient times, this was the house of illness. That said, the planet of Mars is actually Lord of the rising sign and Lord of the 6th house as well. And of course, Mars is in its own rulership. So you are likely to be invigorated. Your body is likely to be invigorated. You are going to have some fresh ideas, like I said, for maintaining your health, for having a good approach to well-being and a good routine for well-being. And so your body might actually be energized at this time. Very much so, actually, because it rules the house of the body as well as the house of well-being. So the emphasis for Scorpio rising people is going to be on their physicality at this time over the month of January. And again, you guys, your sexuality very much increased, because Mars is the planet of sexuality in a house connected with your well-being. So your sexual health is going to be improved as well. And we all know Scorpio people to have this reputation for being very sexy. So this is because Mars is their ruler. It's because of other things as well, but Mars is a planet of sexuality who is their traditional ruler. So for you guys, as well as for Virgo rising people, this is going to be a great month for a healthy sexuality and sexual well-being as well. So this is a great month for you guys. You might be able to invest in some kind of new exercise program that will really pay off well for you, make you feel invigorated and healthy. You'll have great ideas for what you can bring to your workplace. You probably, you know, will come up with some new inspired, creative, entrepreneurial approach for work that's really going to pay off. So very, very blessed time for you guys in a house that is traditionally not known for being supportive. For you guys, this is going to be a really good month. So lots to celebrate if you're Scorpio rising. If you're Sagittarius rising, this is going to place the sign of Aries as your 5th house. And 5th house is it is children and love and romance and pleasure, the things we do for fun. And this is one of the lucky houses in Vedic astrology. So because it aspects by trine the ascendant. Oh, you're being a very troublesome board today. I need to tighten you up. Let me see if that helps. Nope. Anyhow, the 5th house, it trines the 1st house. So there is a big connection where the 6th house doesn't have a big connection with the rising sign. The 5th house does with a very harmonious, kindly trine. So there is a big connection between the body and the body's journey through life and how we creatively express ourselves, things we do for pleasure, our children, and love and romance, which is one of the most creative things you can do. So you're going to be energized around those things this month. All you Sagittarian people, you're going to have great ideas for romance. Your partners will be so lucky because you will be full of, you know, the creative idea. Let's go and have fish and chips at the beach, and we'll, you know, have a walk on the beach at sunset or something, you know, very predictable. But you'll have fresh ideas, not boring ideas like me trolling out the age-old cliches. You will have fresh ideas and amazing, you know, creativity, because this is the house of creativity, and that's why romance is here, because one of the most creative things we can do is to use our creative expression in romance with a partner. So you're going to have some great ideas for romance at this time. I encourage you to implement them. You're going to be very enthusiastic about romance and quite spontaneous as well. Like I said, your partners are very lucky, as are your children, because you will, for Sagittarius rising people, you're going to have lots of wonderful thoughts about how to interact with your children, how to connect with your children. And this is great. In Australia, it's summer holidays. I'm not sure how many weeks of holidays you guys have in the Northern Hemisphere for winter, but the whole of January in Australia is pretty much school holidays because it's summer. And so your lucky children, you Sagittarius people, the children of you guys are going to have the best summer ever with Mars there. You're going to have the enthusiasm to say, hey, let's go to this theme park, or let's go to the beach, and you're going to get in there and go surfing with them, or, you know, whatever it happens to be. You Sagittarian people are going to have what it takes to really creatively, energetically connect with your children over these summer holidays. So lots of blessing all around if you're a family person and you're a Sag rising. This is also the house, like I said, of creativity and creative expression. So you actually might really get inspired at this time to produce a new book or do a play, or, you know, you might think, hey, let's join the summer theatre group. And, you know, you're just part of some kind of acting troupe for the summer because you're just inclined and passionate and enthusiastic about doing that sort of thing. It might be some sort of art. It might be some sort of, like I said before, writing. It might be anything creative, anything where you're using your tremendous creative capacity. If you're Sagittarius rising, you're a very creative person. It's going to be enhanced by Mars being in its own sign in your 5th house. So you're going to be enthusiastic about whatever type of creative practice it happens to be. Lucky Sagittarius with Mars in the lucky house. Capricorn rising people, well, you are squaring Mars at this time, so I'm just hoping that's going to stay. Yes, so your ascendant throughout January, at some point, if you're Capricorn rising, at some point in January, your ascendant is going to square transiting Mars. So there can be some tension with your body and your body's journey through life through Mars squaring your ascendant. So that's just something to watch out for. It depends what degree your ascendant is at when that will occur for you. But generally speaking, you're going to be very invigorated about family. You're enthusiastic about family, and you're going to have great ideas for how to connect with family. Again, this is actually really, really good if you're on school holidays, because like Sagittarius rising people, you're going to have lots of ideas for what you can do with your family. You're going to have lots of energy to put into family activities. So this is great. You might also be enthused about sort of doing a bit of family history research, maybe even traveling to connect with your roots, your heritage, your lineage, which is also seen by the 4th house. And the 4th house is also our physical home. Mars is very much connected to the idea of construction. Now, Mars and Saturn together, they are, when they're together, they're very much about building, construction, and that sort of thing, because Mars is using the tools like the hammer and the drill and the la la la. And Saturn is about structure. Keeping in mind, Mars and Saturn will at some point square each other throughout January. So your home, you might be enthused and invigorated and get fresh ideas for some sort of renovation work to be done on your home. Again, school holidays in Australia, maybe a couple of weeks in other parts of the world, I'm not quite sure, but you might have the time and the energy to put into fixing up your home. It might be painting a room that needs painting. It might be, fixing up the plumbing or something, checking the roof tiles are all in place. You're going to be energized about caring for your home, doing some work around the home. You're going to have the enthusiasm and motivation to do that. So I can hear everybody's wives saying, yay, about time. So that's something. And needn't be wives actually as well. If you're a woman and you're inclined to be a bit practical around the house, you'll get this inspiration as well. I should not use sexual stereotypes, gender stereotypes there. So yeah, great time for getting work done around the house. You'll be motivated and enthusiastic, and your ideas will be spot on. You'll have some sort of creative idea about, oh, if we did a feature wall there, or if we did the fireplace like this, or you will have great creative ideas that you can use at this time. Okay, Aquarius rising people, this is going to mean that Mars is in your 3rd house, and the 3rd house is communications. That's the word in a nutshell for the 3rd house. It encompasses so much more than that. It encompasses teaching, learning. It also talks about writing, speaking, anything we do with social media and the internet to communicate with other people. It's also business practices, marketing, advertising, being some sort of, like, we'll use the word merchant or trader, maybe someone who starts their own business. It's also the house of self-made wealth. So with Mars here in its own sign, you are going to be invigorated about making your own money. You might get some inspirational entrepreneurial idea that you can utilize. It needn't be your day job, but it might be something, you decide to launch a product on Amazon or something, and you get some sort of creative inspiration regarding your own wealth, making your own money rather than working for somebody else. So you're going to be full of fresh ideas, you're full of enthusiasm and invigoration regarding those things. You might also be very enthusiastic about marketing, and you'll jump on social media and you'll just bombard the social media with pictures of, you know, this idea and this project and whatever it is that you're wanting to promote. Is a really great month for you guys to get into some sort of promotional work, marketing, advertising, even speaking as well. This is a really good month if you wanted to start, you know, working with YouTube or something like that. You've got the drive, the energy, the enthusiasm and the fresh ideas to put into this work. So Aquarius rising people who are probably naturally inclined towards internet kind of work and very progressive ideas anyway, it's going to be expanded for you because Mars is going to give you that extra oomph, that extra enthusiasm in those realms that are somewhat connected with your rising sign anyhow. So this is actually really quite exciting. Yeah, so the first week of January, when Mars moves in there, you're going to really feel a shift in regard to your ability to communicate, how you're communicating, who you're communicating with, and why you're communicating with them. There's going to be just a big invigorated energy for you guys at this time. So you might decide, you know, that you want to start writing a book, and this is a great time to do that. You might want to establish a company or a business idea. I would get some advice if you do want to start your own business from an astrologer that can look at your chart specifically and say, well, hey, now this is a really good time for you to do this, to establish and set up your own business. But generally speaking, with Mars here, it's going to be a supportive energy for you to do something of that nature, or even start thinking about it and brainstorming about it. Often we talk about these energies as if, you know, they're going to bring us something that just, you know, appears out of thin air and whatever. That's not always the case. Sometimes the energies they're giving us are the ideas, the thoughts, the impetus to talk things out with somebody even, or just to brainstorm. You know, this is often the way things play out. So just back to, if you had Aries as 5th house, you might simply spend a month writing down great creative romantic ideas. Instead of that, if you don't have a partner, you might be able to brainstorm these things. So it's not always that something manifests tangibly for us. It can actually just be a part of our mental processing. So this can work out either way for you Aquarius rising people. You might get a business idea and you start doing the prep work. You get really enthusiastic and energetic and invigorated about it, or about some sort of marketing approach. You know, you can implement it definitely, and it can manifest for you in a tangible way. But I just cautioning you, if you wanted to start your own business, and you're basing astrology on the date that you got into that business, then I would get a reading, because you really want to make sure that your chart lines up with what's going on in transits in a supportive way. But the general nature of this is that, yes, get thinking about new entrepreneurial ideas and communications and teaching and learning something new. It's a great month for doing that for you guys. And last but never least, Pisces. Pisces rising. You guys are quite lucky. Well, I should say we are quite lucky, because Aries is our 2nd house. And so to have the Lord of our 2nd house sitting in our 2nd house for the month means that there's going to be a lot of energy around finances for us. We're going to have great ideas for how we can generate more money in our life. We're going to have more enthusiasm around making more money. We're going to be more spontaneous towards our relationship with money and possessions and the things that we need to support our body's journey through life, which is what the 2nd house is all about. So this is actually going to be a very exciting month for Pisces people on a financial level. And I'm like, hallelujah for that. It's going to be great. You'll probably get a lot more opportunities to make money. You will also be very, like I said, very enthusiastic about it and be able to channel that energy into sort of creating more work for yourself in whatever realm you happen to work in. You'll also be very full of, like I said, fresh ideas for, okay, if I add this to my website, or if I incorporate this product into what I'm doing. You're going to have a lot more ideas about financial generation, but also you're going to be enthusiastic about the things that you already own, the possessions that you already have. So you're going to have fresh ideas. Just say you've got a mirror collection at home, and it's, you know, vintage 50s mirrors, you know, the gorgeous etched edged ones with the foggy glass and pictures on them and that sort of thing. And you're like, I've had them sitting in the cupboard for so long. And Mars transit through second house, you're going to be like, oh, I know just where I can put those, and they're going to look fantastic. And so you get excited and energized, and you've got this fresh idea, and you transform a whole wall into a beautiful 1950s vintage mirror display. And so this is the nature of second house. It's our collections of things, as well as the money that we generate in our life to support our body. It's the things that we own. So you're going to have lots of ideas about the things that you own, how to utilize them, how to enjoy them more, how to you know, use those passions for various things that you've got. So you might be passionate about you know, World War II documentaries. You know, Mars is the god of war, and in Aries was also the god of war. So, you know, you might have a whole collection of World War II documentaries, and suddenly your passion and your enthusiasm for that really amps up, and you jump online and you're ordering more videos, or you sign up for Netflix so you can get access to more of those documentaries, because that's something, it's a possession, it's a tangible physical world thing that you want to have more of in your life. So you're going to be enthusiastic about that happening in your life. So this is what can be occurring, and like I said, general kind of energy, but a really great one. So January looks to be very exciting for everybody. It's a fresh start. Like I said, it's a new beginning, and with the whole Gandanta theme, it's the ending of a soul cycle and the beginning of a new one. Not only because of the Gandanta theme, but also Aries, generally speaking, the first house of the horoscope, the first sign of the horoscope. So this is a whole new start for us right on the first day of 2019, the new year. So lots to look forward to, and I hope you're all excited like I am to head on into 2019, and fingers crossed that it brings blessings for all of us after what's been a pretty full-on 2018. So I'm just going to say a closing prayer and wish everybody Merry Christmas. In some parts of the world it'll be yesterday, in some parts of the world it'll be today, but Merry Christmas, and I look forward to joining you in 2019. Loving energy of the universe, we thank you so much for the year that has been, for all that we've learnt, all that we have grown through, all that we have embraced. We even thank you for all that we've rejected, and that it's brought us to the place we're at now, where we have more knowledge, more insight, and we just ask that these lessons and the experiences that we've had through 2018 go with us into 2018 to make us better people, living lives that are more aligned with higher consciousness. And so it is. Thank you, and God bless.